end it all right here? You want to end it all right here?
No, I mean, hop
I'm
in the
completely
tank.
and mentally stable.
See that thing over there? See that? Hop into that.
You just gave away our location, by the way. Yeah, we're getting shot at. We're getting shot at now. Why would you do that? I'm down.
How in the duck? Let me
Get him up.
There we go.
Good God, these guys are good shots.
Onward is, as the cool kids would say, pretty pog. I've never been able to experience the terror of being shot in real life, so why not simulate it with a giant brick over my face? Games like Pavlov and Contractors have a cartoony feeling to them. Meanwhile, Onward is basically the equivalent of giving a toddler a gun and telling them to go fight in a Middle Eastern country. Toddler in a Middle Eastern country? What is that even supposed to mean? My script is horrible. There is something so fun about being able to squad up with your homies and prepare to fight the hardest bots in VR. And I mean the hardest bots in VR.
Stupid.
Oh yeah, no, I forgot. I didn't change my height. Well, on the ground.
Short there, bro. Kinda short there, brother. Alright, I'm moving up.
Shit.
They already see us.
You got no flex ball.
They're behind us! They're behind us! Jesus Christ!
I'm wounded.
Fucking Jesus!
I'm down.
Affirmative. I'm in a building. Fuck.
Whenever I play games, I like to have a specific feeling behind that game. Sort of like a role play, but for that game specifically. For example, when I play a zombie game, I want to feel like a gunslinging, baseball bat wielding badass. But if that game has funky graphics and bad story, I might take the idea of me as that character and ruin it. Therefore, some of my favorite games are games that let you do whatever you want and be whoever you want. Some really good examples of that, if we're going zombie-wise, is letting me roleplay as a drifter in Days Gone, as Deacon. Sure, I have a voiced character who I am currently playing as, however, I am still able to get immersed as that character. It's the same thing with GTA 5. Whenever you're in the story campaign, you're able to immerse yourself as these characters. Franklin is this chill, guy who steals cars. You got Trevor, who's a mass-murdering psychopath, and I mean, a majority of the player base in GTA 5 can probably relate to that. And then we lastly have the white guy. I forget his name, man. He's literally just a white guy who's rich. I guess you can roleplay as a really hardcore bank robber. That's pretty nice, being able to do certain heists, stuff like that in the campaign. Feels really fun. And that's because you can kind of put yourself in the shoes of those characters. I mean, being able to actually feel like that character is great. If that game has funky graphics and bad story, it might bring it down. But it's some of my favorite games are just games that let you do whatever you want. Like I said earlier, the funky graphics and bad story might ruin it a little. But even then, some of my favorites like Clone Drone in the Danger Zone and Borrow Trauma, especially Borrow Trauma, Barotrauma is a really good example. It has very simplistic graphics and mechanics certain people don't like. But for me, it's so cool being able to be the captain of this submarine, or the medic on board, or the engineer, and have this order structure. And if you want to, you could become a rogue and maybe take down the captain, overthrow. There's a lot of things you could do in Barotrauma, and I feel like a part of that, like Barotrauma, is that aspect, like the crew itself. It uses external force, like these monsters attacking your submarine, and then it pressures your captain into making these decisions, which leads to security having to make decisions, which leads to the crew having to make decisions. If you have a weak crew, then it might lead to someone rebelling, or it could just lead to you guys dying as a whole. But if you have a strong one, you'll have a sense of camaraderie. Yeah, that's it. You'll have a sense of camaraderie, and you'll be able to feel as a crew. There is a little bit of a problem. If you have multiple roles, it's possible that in a video game you will feel less in character for that role. Like, if you wanted to, like, let's say Unturned. Unturned is a pretty basic game, pretty basic example. Of course, it's kind of weird for this example, but whenever you're in Unturned, you can pick multiple roles and be able to kind of roleplay as those roles. However, you'll just pick up more loot, pick up more stuff like that. It's not focused on those roles as much. However, in a game that focuses on your character or the main character, you're able to pretend to be that person, whether that's zombie-wielding badass or whatever. Onward is definitely focused on one character, just not the main character. Because Onward has you being one thing and one thing only. You're a soldier. Whether you're one of the Volk or one of the Marsoc, you are a soldier. And sure, this game doesn't look the best graphics-wise, at least on Quest. PC has kind of been doing better. It's not as good as its former days. And sure, it might have lost, like, its allure when it switched to Quest 2, like its former glory days. But this game is genuinely terrifying. Like that when I showed you that video of me fighting against the AI, it really has your blood pumping when you're just running away, firing in random directions. It feels like you are in the introduction to the first Iron Man, where you are literally just a convoy of soldiers and then suddenly you are getting lit the hell up. It's just in that movie they weren't prepared for it. In this one we were, and we still got lit up. Just going through a level and fighting against the bots takes more than just a gun and the willpower. It more than likely requires a team. Like, sure, you could go rookie mode and fight against a bunch of bots, but on the harder difficulties, going up against a lot of these guys will be hard. And I'm not talking to the pro Onward players. I'm talking to the regular consumer. I know there's going to be some smart-ass comments in the comment section saying, but actually I'm able to take on 128 of the veteran difficulty. I'm not talking about you. Cool. Go post it on like Reddit or something. Just being able to take your team and have to fight against these people is probably the most fun you will have. Like, being able to go with your squad and fight against AI is like some really good fun. There are some downsides, of course, like there will be the players who just team kill or scream or just be downright toxic. But at the end of the day, co-op is a lot of fun. But I understand that there's going to be certain people who get bored of this, get bored of the repetitive bots, get bored of dying over and over again and the same boring thing, either evac or just basically Rainbow Six Siege terrorist hunt. They'll get bored of that eventually. However, there is one other thing that is really good. Being able to fight against players.
Got one.
Working with your team is essential in PvP to either protect or take the objective if you're playing the regular game mode, and in this case, I haven't really messed with any of the other game modes, at least in this video. I'll maybe check them out later. But being able to take the objective or protect it relies on your team. You have to have good communication. You can't just be the one-man show. Well, you can, but it'll be harder. In Pavlov and Contractors, you're not as much of a team, really. You can kind of branch out and do your own thing, get your own kills. And that's the thing I find really annoying about this day and age is, let's get out of the realm of VR for a second. If you go into Call of Duty or Fortnite, it's less focused about the team as a whole. It's more focused on getting EXP, getting these kills, getting this quest. You're not focused on helping your team as much as you are focused on being in a team and then doing your own thing. However, in this game, you have to be in the team if you have a team to succeed. Because if you go branch out and do your own thing, with communication, that's fine. It could probably work out that way. However, if you just go away from your team, no communication, you're just a target to yourself. You are on your own. And of course, you could be cheeky and hide and wait for someone to like die, but if you're on your own, you're on your own. And I mean, the advantage in numbers, whether it's 4v4, 2v2, is probably going to be your best shot. One thing I really like about this game is the fact that every weapon has its usage in Onward. Sure, the RPG is basically a one-shot weapon, but at the same time, if you're in a squad and not just by yourself, you will be able to ambush their team. Like if let's say there's 3 of you on a balcony, 2 of them have machine guns, and you have your RPG. The best thing to do with an RPG in that scenario is probably wait for them to be in an open field, wait for them to be clumped up, because that's something that happens in Onward a lot of the time, is they'll stick together, blow them up, and then your guys could take care of the rest of them. And you also have a pistol, you have a secondary that hopefully you've modded out, because the RPG doesn't really have that much to mod out. So you should be able to use your pistol from there on out. And then I really like the LMGs in this game. Like, I know that kind of, anytime I see a new player in Onward, they always gravitate to the LMGs, not really understanding their purpose as much. However, I really like, you can suppress a person. Like, in Pavlov, getting the LMG is just like, ooh, I got a big assault rifle, pretty much. In real life, using a light machine gun is primarily to suppress. Like, sure, you've seen like D-Day, stuff like that, where they just mow down people and mow down. Its main purpose, at least in modern military standards, I'm not in the military. I'm fairly certain of that. Don't fact check me on that, but it's used to suppress people. And you can prevent them from going into certain areas, and you can just shoot. Just keep having a wall of lead, and in Pavlov, it wouldn't be that much of a problem. They just simply run. If they die, they die. It's, especially considering the kill time is a lot slower. Like, you can shoot someone with an LMG, like, a bunch of times, and it won't matter. Along with the fact that the LMG is hella inaccurate if you don't know what you're doing in Pavlov. However, in this game, whenever I'm getting suppressed by a light machine gun, I actually am scared. Like, I'm not running out there to try and go out, because those guns are accurate. It's not crazy, like, going everywhere, bobbing up and down, especially if they have a bipod, something like that. And that's pretty realistic. If someone sees you, like, 50 meters away and they're suppressing you, that's still going to be pretty deadly. I don't care. Like, in real life, that would be hella deadly. But especially in Onward, that is very deadly. If you are, let's say, behind some cover, getting shot at, you don't want to just run out into that fire, so you have to find a different way to go around it. So a response could be to throw a smoke or a flash to prevent your fire. An assault rifle is superb at medium to long ranges. However, SMGs and shotguns have faster fire rate and more damage for close quarters fighting. As a matter of fact, I got a really cheeky SMG kill, so I'm just going to show that one to you real quick.
Don't worry,
Got one. Oh, that's
I'm so proud of you.
One of them is unaccounted for. I don't know where he is.
I don't see shit.
Got both of them.
Sniper rifles have a very weird feeling to them in this game, so I tend to not use them. I do use the MK. I do use the MK17. However, that's really the only exception, just because that one is very heavy penetration, and it just feels so girthy to use. But aside from that, I don't use any of the bolt actions. I don't use any of that stuff. I know the bolt actions, if you use them as just like a regular rifle, that's the best way for me. It's mainly the scopes, the long distance scopes, don't really do it for me. I find them really too wiggly, way too, like, any jerk of the hand is very wiggly, stuff like that. I'm just not, I guess I'm not as good at sniping in VR. I'm just better with close quarters to medium range. And then when it comes to long range, I just put bullets down range and hope I hit them. Yeah, I tend to not use them. And even if you are good with the sniper rifle, because of the limitations of VR and like having to reload stuff yourself, I feel like they're not as overpowered as a sniper rifle in like CSGO or CS2, whatever they call it now, because they replaced it or something. I was never a CSGO player anyways, so I don't really care. But in that game, the sniper is the pinnacle of everything, because your character in that game manually reloads really fast, because it's every single time they reload the exact same time. However, in VR, you are reloading my gun manually, like actually physically grabbing out and touching it and reloading it. Therefore, it takes obviously longer. Every weapon class has its places in this game. I still learn about how much fun this game is every time I boot it up and play with a couple of my friends, and I tend to avoid the servers as much as I can, because I will admit there is a problem with like children and people like spam killing you. But if you can find a really good like milsim group, I have found like former like Navy people in here. I've seen like a couple Marines, and they tend to be the most serious, because they're people who are just here for a fun time. You can tell a lot of the time they're not like trying to prove anything, because if you could tell someone's fake if they're like a Marine or something like that, because they try flexing. Like if you're a Marine in this game, or at least from my experience, a lot of them are just chill. They're just trying to have a fun time, shoot some guns, and in a fictional setting, and they like it because it's kind of realistic-ish. It's nowhere close to like really, really realistic, but it's close enough compared to everything else. But again, if you can find yourself a really cool group of friends, or hell, just like basically just like a small Discord group, something like that, not even really friends, to play this with, it is amazing. And even with just the regular server stuff like that, you just got to find the right server eventually, find it without kids. It is sort of a problem, because people have been talking about Onward kind of dying for a while, and I get that that is a problem, because it doesn't get as much updates as it used to. It's just more content and stuff like that. I still hold Onward in high regards. I feel like the team behind Onward at Downpour Interactive are doing wonders, and I do not doubt their abilities, regardless of the content they're making and regardless of how fast they're making it. Well, that's pretty much it. No need to complicate it, so I'm going to wrap up. Onward is a great game, and it may not be your Pavlov or Contractors, and it may have fallen from its grace where it had ragdoll physics and really, really good-looking weapons, but regardless of all that, it still holds its place in my heart, and it should in yours too if you are into that military simulation style game. This is amazing. Regardless of the graphics and bugs, this game still has a lot of fun and a lot of potential. Thanks for watching all the way through. Tell me if you like this sort of content and what I should do next. Make sure to subscribe and all that. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I know. That's all from me, and I'll see you guys later. Akimli, out.